Welcome to overanalyzing every single chapter of Houseki no Kuni because you have nothing better to do today. Um, Spoilers for anything up to 105, as that is currently out right now. Um, if you have any comments uh, of overanalysis, please leave them down below because I will read every single one and be like, that's cool and interesting, and then I'll reread the entire series again. So please leave all your different views and overanalyses with me, and I will be happy. Okay, so in this chapter, this is with the snail, or stuff like that. The first obvious Lunarian plot that happens, because again, like the first time Phos gets basically targeted by the Lunarians, I'm wondering if that was like part of their plan, or if that was just a regular Lunarian attack. But this one, a little different. Another thing is, I guess I'll comment on it now, is that I really love how the artwork is really symmetrical at the beginning, like in the first couple of volumes, and then as it goes on and Foss's mental state slowly changes, the angles are less symmetrical, and I really like that. I think I'll be able to show her that later on, but yeah. So here we have Jade talking about how they just don't understand Phos, and again, was the main thing that was talked about the last time Jade and Phos spoke, is that I just don't know what to do with that. That idiot's not even clearing around the clipboard anymore. I wasn't thinking when I mentioned die, all this stuff, and it shows that Jade is really concerned about Phos too, because not like other characters aren't that concerned with Cinnabar and stuff like that. Of course they are, but not as much. But we see that Jade thinks a lot about Phos, and of course Jade is complaining that they don't understand Phos and don't know what to do with them. But in this effort of complaining, it's them seeking help, seeking what to do. And so we can see that Jade has always tried to understand Phos and know what's going on with Phos, basically. And that makes them apologizing for not trying to get to know them better, shows that that was really on Jade's mind, like ever since the beginning. Hopefully, we can at least have some peace while Sensei is resting. I guess Euclid always tries to look on the positive side, um, and even Phos doesn't cause problems every day. Wishful thinking, but yeah, and man causes problems. It's not every day, but 100 years out. Anyway, so here we have Shield from the Lunarians. Uh, that is where it starts, right? Yeah. These establishing shots are also great. Anyway, so Shield, we have Euclid and Jade, and here we have Daya hauling Phos around as them saying that Phos doesn't cause problems. Uh, when did they? They say to look up. They look up. This is such a cool upshot as well. And then they see Bort, and you see how it says Bort's here, and there's nothing for any of us to do here. They see this is like a type of praise that they're giving Bort, that and kind of affirms Daya's horrified face of Bort kind of takes away anything that Daya can do and anything that the other gems can do, and that's how the other gems see it. Of course, the other gems don't have envy for Bort; they just see it as Bort being useful. But Daya sees it as Bort stealing their praise, which I mentioned a bit last chapter. And the reason why Euclid shouts out Jade here is because Euclid knows Euclid knows this about Daya, that Daya is really hurt by the fact that Bort is so amazing, according to Daya. Um, and of course, Jade says sorry. But it's interesting to know that these characters know that about Daya and Bort's relationship. Uh, and it's sad that they can recognize that from Daya, but again, the characters don't do anything because they keep the status quo of how life has been going on for however many thousands of years they've all been alive. Um, yep, and then throwing Foss again. Uh, yep. And so here we get action scenes, and Daya really tries to help because uh again, Daya feels like in this shot it shows that Daya feels like they're being covered in Bort's shadow, like that sort of thing, uh, because of how Bort takes care of everything. Bort just sees this as being heroic or something like that, but Daya sees it as a threat to their existence. Um, you can, yeah. But, and of course, Euclid understands the complicated nature between those two, except Euclid just knows enough not to say anything about how amazing Bort is in Dia's presence. I don't do not bother them. Jade's just like, what are you doing to Phos? And asking if Phos has made any progress because Jade is actually curious and wants to know if Phos is fitting in with her new role. Um, and Euclid, and now they're asking Phos to deal with this thing. And it's interesting the fact that Phos is getting the encyclopedia role, and I'm wondering if I don't know how to pronounce his name, Lunarian guy in the sky, uh, specifically brought the stale knowing that Phos would be the one tasked with investigating it because they had the encyclopedia. So, see this thing, I'd like to investigate it. And you see that Phos is finally given something right in front of their face that's new that they don't know about that can be used to benefit the encyclopedia, and they try to haul it back off to Euclid. Uh, oh, I forgot, I'm busy. Sure, Phos. Yeah. Uh, but it's still here. Lunar is just so they know it's not Lunarian. And that's why, like, Phos basically just tries to hand it back to Euclid to do. Listen, you're going to take this seriously, and you're not going to take shortcuts. See, Jade. See, the reason why they're so adamant that Phos actually do their job and put the encyclopedia is because they want Phos to have a role and contribute to society in this way. Um, are you serious? No, really, I don't have time for this. I have a pressing note. And the reason why Phos says they're busy is because they really want to help Cinnabar. But that isn't the job that was assigned to them. But it is nice that that is the reason why they're more busy is because they put that as a greater importance over their actual work. But of course, that's to their detriment. So, next page. So, we have the snail. Phos becomes snail food. Casualness. Um, yeah, I don't know if there's anything specific. Phos drops the arm because they doesn't want Dia's arm to be hurt, which again shows Phos having more concern over Dia than Phos's self, because Phos elevates other people, and it can be seen as a self-sacrificing thing and a loving thing, but it can also, but in another way, it can be twisted as just Phos views Dia as more valuable, so Phos is going to prioritize Dia over themselves, and Phos does that with everyone else, which again can be seen as a self-sacrificing thing, but it can also be something self-destructive in nature. Um, Phos gets disintegrated, and this is, I feel like this is more from their view because they see Phos as more of like an even guy of that why they have to save him, because they're all looking at Phos and it kind of looks like they're looking at each other with how the paneling is laid out. But they still see it as a nuisance. Like they come in to help Phos, and they, even though, like, so sad. Anyway, but even though they were like, it's kind of hard to place blame in this situation because they're like, Phos, check it out, and then they're like, whoops, it's dangerous, my bad. But Yuke tries to go in and help, but it gets melted. Um, Jade saves Yuke, all this stuff, and it's interesting that like Yuke notices that Jade's foot gets melted, and it has a shot of Phos, like showing that what's happening to Jade's foot is happening to Phos. And these two glimpses right here are Dia and Bort, the people that Phos really idolizes. Somebody help me, but just somebody, they, like, instead of Yuke and Jade, Phos used Dia and Bort as more of those people that will help, which of course they do, but it's interesting that they reach out and are trying to get these stars who are supposed to represent the diamonds, of course. Bort tries to talk to Phos, tries to get them, and then their hair melts. This is kind of interesting because same things happens. This is actually um, this is actually the same thing that happens when Bort and Cinnabar fight Phos, because Cinnabar tries to throw the mercury onto Phos, and then Bort uses that opportunity to, like, saw blade, Phos with their hair, and then Phos crumbles and all that stuff. And Yuke and Jade are there too. Um, and Yuke isn't that helpful in the fighting department, and that's when Yuke goes up to Phos and like says that they need Phos and all that. But you see here that like Bort's hair gets melted off here, of course, then it's still there for the rest of the series. But that's actually what happens later too. It melted. Bort, it's absurd. And you see how Bort's kind of like the what is this thing? Heat acid. Is this a new weapon? Bort, and this really shows like Bort's overthinkingness. Like Bort is always thinking like tactical advantages and stuff like that because that's how Bort is. Like when Zircon was on Bort's team, like Bort like analyzed the things that Zircon could improve on. And that's probably why Bort gets better every day. Like what Daya says is because Bort is constantly thinking on how they can improve, whereas Daya is constantly envying Bort for their improvement instead of actually focusing on themselves and improving themselves at how they best can. Um, uh, yeah, and so this is interesting because like Daya's questioning their immortality now. Can we still come back after melting? And it's interesting because the lore book talks about like even if they are burnt to ash, because that has happened rarely. It said in the book, to gems. Even if they're burnt from ash, they can come back from the ashes. So really, they are pretty immortal. But Daya's asking if they can really come back from melting. What's going on? If you were just waiting for some good luck, you'll be happier. Meaning melting into nothing. That's kind of very harsh for Bort to say, and Bort is kind of very harsh in that way. But yeah, and it's kind of sad that like Phos's final like thoughts before Phos fully disintegrates is that Phos needs to be helped, and this actually. So the reason right now that Phos is really clinging to life, like unlike Cinnabar and like the diamonds with how they feel, where they feel like they can just disappear because they're not needed. Phos has given themselves a need, and they feel like they need to help Cinnabar, even if Cinnabar doesn't feel that way. Because Phos feels that need, Phos is actively trying to not die, which is a nice thing to see in this series. Hope it stays that way. Anyway, no, so you see here, no, help me. This is Phos adamantly saying that they want help and they want to not melt into nothingness. Without me, Cinnabar will never be able to. And this shows that their driving reason is their purpose to help Cinnabar. That is the driving reason for them wanting to exist. And it's interesting because the encyclopedia job didn't give that to them. And that's why they elevate helping Cinnabar above their encyclopedia job, because this to them gives them purpose and gives them a will to exist. Anyway, so then Phos becomes the shell. No reaction. Blah 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 blah. Then they see Phos in the shell. Without color, it's really hard to know what they're like talking about. And you can see that Daya is the one who figures it out. And it's interesting to see that Daya is very capable. But Daya doesn't give credit to Daya's capabilities because Daya envies Bort so much. And we see this later. I'll probably talk about this next chapter. But Daya always says that even if it's a thing that Daya and Bort do as a team, Daya always attributed it to Bort. And we see that Daya is capable. Like, unlike Phos and Cinnabar, who are less capable of contributing to society, Daya is completely able-bodied to contribute. But because she overshadows everything, or they pronouns, because Daya because Daya takes everything they do and overshadow it with Bort's, even though Daya is capable of helping and contributing to society, Daya always puts Bort's actions over theirs, so that even though they have done things that can help, like spot that Phos is in the shell or that Phos is showing them their weak points. Actually, wait, I just realized this. They're saying that Phos shows them their weak points by Phos reforming the shell in with phospholite, and it's the reason it's a weak point is because Phos is weak, and Phos is taking over that point of the shell. I didn't think about that till now, but Daya doesn't see how they're contributing. So I guess that shows, like, in the aspect of Phos and Cinnabar not being able to contribute to society for some actual reasons, For Dia, it's a mental thing. Dia is fully able to contribute, and Dia even helps Bort, and sometimes they do things as a team, but Dia contributes all that to Bort, and even though Dia is fully capable, Dia still thinks that they aren't helping, because they're not helping as much as Bort. And that's why it's very cool to see in contrast with Phos, because Dia is everything Phos isn't. And yet Dia still feels like similar things to them just because of the way Dia's mindset has been. If Dia was in Phos's position and very envious, then Dia would be a very unhappy person. But because Dia is the highest, they still aren't. They only have Bort to really compete against, and so it's that envy and that covetousness, like wanting what Bort has, even though Dia has stuff that Phos and Cinnabar would gladly take. It's very interesting to see. Man, that's funny. I didn't realize that until now. So Ventricosis eats Phos to add to the shell, and because Phos becomes part of the shell, that becomes the weak points in the shell. I actually didn't realize that until talking about it just now. That's very funny. Let me know if that's obvious or if you caught that either, because that's something I just realized. That's absolutely hilarious. Anyway, I will talk about the next chapter next week, so see y'all there.